you wonder, where am I right now? But then you look closer, you notice the ground's wet. You notice the raindrops falling in the water. You notice the wonderful footage that this camera is filming right now. And you realize that that wonderful footage is possible because he's filming with a waterproof camera. You're damn right I'm gonna film with a waterproof camera in Seattle, because you'll ruin it if you don't. So here we are at Green Lake in the rain and the mud, and I don't even know where to start. I guess I can say that I kind of spent a lot of my earlier years growing up here. I guess the rain didn't bother me quite as much back then. And that was back when Seattle was actually a halfway decent town. It was considered one of the better places to live in the United States. You know, it was always on the 1 to 10 list for years. And then everybody kind of found out about it, and they moved in. And the traffic got bad. And then it got worse, and it got worse, and it got worse. And then it's just a frickin' traffic jam. And the thing about that is, you know, since I grew up here, I knew where all the shortcuts were, the other alternative roads you could take in the rush hour traffic, but everybody else figured those out eventually. So now, no matter where you go, look at that, isn't that beautiful? No matter where you go, you have the traffic. It's a given. Doesn't that look inviting? Don't you just want to go out on that lake with a nice little boat or your surfboard or a windsurfer? Isn't that just totally inviting? The weather, the nice cold rain just is inviting you to go out on the lake, isn't it? Yeah. So, anyways, I was talking to this kid. I was going to buy this car that had everything wrong with it. You don't see those very often, but this car had like everything wrong with it. Everything. I mean, the window, the oil level, the water level, the power steering pump, you name it. The car, I don't even, the body, it had dents in it. I mean, it just had everything wrong with it. But anyways, I was talking to this kid. He's getting ready to leave for California. He's like, I don't know, 24, 25 or something. And I asked him, I go, what do you think of the people in Seattle? And I guess he grew up here too. And I go, what do you think about the people in Seattle? And he says they're depressed. I mean, he says that the people in Seattle are depressed. And I said, I mean, you're saying that everybody in Seattle is depressed? And he says, yes, everybody in Seattle is depressed. And I thought about that for a while, and I thought, you know, the kid's right. The kid is definitely right that that everybody is depressed here. And I think Big Pharma would really like this. Is you know how they put fluoride and chlorine in the water? I think it should be law in Washington that they should put antidepressants in the water. Really, I mean, with this kind of weather all the time, you need to put antidepressants in the water, and maybe some vitamin D. I guess some types of vitamin D can help with this stuff. And then I've known people that have moved, a couple people personally, and some girls in high school, and they just moved from here as soon as they could to get out of this. camera has raindrops on it, but it's waterproof. And so basically, you know, what I was hoping, what I was figuring was that that in my earlier years when I was here, all the people moving in would just stay here for a couple years and eventually they would leave. That's what I was hoping, that they would come here for a few years and then eventually the rain would get to them and then they would like go back where they came from, because probably no matter where they came from, it didn't rain like here. And you know, there's other cities, like I guess technically like Mobile, Alabama, they say has the most rain of any city in the United States. And that might be true, amount of rain, but it's not this constant miserable drizzle like this, where it's not really raining and it's not really not raining. It's just kind of a miserable, misty, drizzling gray. So anyways, my enthusiasm in my younger years was that these people that are coming from all over the country to jam up our traffic, to cause these traffic jams, like a clogged artery or something, coronary artery or whatever, causing all this jammed up traffic, or they're gonna move. And I was in complete denial because somehow they've adapted to the rain. So I think they probably have a better shrink than I do, or they can afford better therapy so they can get better antidepressants than I can. That's all I can figure. But if they put antidepressants in the drinking water, I think that would solve a lot of the problems here, and probably vitamin D, depending on the vitamin D, like I said earlier. And this is being filmed with a waterproof camera, obviously, or it'd be ruined. Just like Seattle got ruined. There's just not really many redeeming qualities to live here for me. You know, I mean, I remember back in the day, this is a true story because I remember this, you could get like a 1-bedroom apartment or a studio for like $300 a month, pretty much anywhere you wanted in the city. It was that way for years until the word got out and everybody moved here. Yeah. And then they even made television shows that were supposed to actually be filmed here, and they were never really filmed here. They showed a couple different shots of Seattle, and they said that they were actually filming it in Seattle, but they didn't film it in Seattle. One was even a show about a shrink. I don't remember the name of that. On that note, that's another thing they ruined. Was they used to have it's called a public access, and there was a studio over on 98th and Aurora, and so you could go to 98th and Aurora and sign up for an orientation class, and then you learned about the Second Amendment, your constitutional right to free speech, and how they were subsidizing it. They rationalized that the public needed more airtime, like the big media, and so they allowed the public to air their own shows on channel 29 and 77. And they basically just got rid of the studio on 98th and Aurora, and they just destroyed it basically. I mean, I used to do shows there. I did live call-in shows where you would have people from the general public, and sometimes I would have a topic and sometimes I wouldn't have a topic, and they would just call in and they'd say, what's the topic? And then I'd go from there, you know. And sometimes I'd say, well, I don't have a topic, and they'd tell me with that it's just a total waste of taxpayers' money to not have a topic. And then the second caller after him would complain about the first caller, and then it would go off that way or whatever. It could go any different directions, but it was the public utilizing the Second Amendment, their constitutional right to free speech, which is swallowed up by big media, but that's just another thing that got destroyed. Basically, I guess you can submit stuff that's already taped up at the community college, up at North Seattle Community College, if you really look for it. Yeah. This is kind of a symbol of how I feel in Seattle. Really, I just feel like this drain, like this being here is just sucking the life energy out of me. You know, I've visited my friends. I came here to visit my son and his son. I've spent a little bit of time with him. And it's time to get out of here, because I'm just being sapped of my energy. And you know, I mean, there's a saying, you know, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, and the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Well, I'm not going to change this frickin' weather. And unfortunately, I have tried, trust me, I have tried to adjust my attitude to have a good attitude. You know, I mean, about the rain all the time. I've really tried to adjust my attitude about it, and I can't. And I can't really change the weather. That's not going to happen. And my attitude about this constant abysmal frickin' suck-ass rain, I can't change that. But what I can do is I can get on I-5 or 99 and I can head south. And I can head south for 800 miles, 1,000 miles, 1,200 miles, and then eventually I will be out of this. And that is the one thing that keeps me waking up in the morning from completely getting sucked down the drain. But that's why your big coffee chains and your big electronics people did so well, because there's not much to do when it's like this. I mean, other than to walk around in the rain complaining about it like me, or stay inside and get on the computer and go into cyber world where you're nice, warm, and dry, and drink your coffee. You know, and so in a way, you know, coffee really took off here. It went worldwide, but a lot of it really took off from here. And see, coffee has stuff in it that boosts your serotonin level, so it counteracts this. And that's basically it for today with this. Just putting it out there.